pick easier on the red.
Excited to see what happens in this pick ban. It will determine a lot of what happens in the game. How I feel about it as well. We're going to have to see what Gen.G can do on the blue side, as you were mentioning here. Zoe will not be played in these first two games.
So SKT in game number 1, they were on the blue side and banned Silas, Rise, and Callista. Gen.G were actually the ones to ban Zoe red side. They're on blue side now, so remember, they have first pick access for something like the Zoe that is going to be common first pick going forward. Jace now, of course, is a very high tier pick, but is it a Gen.G pick? Is it something you ban against Gen.G is a question that I might not actually fully know the answer, and it seems like the answer is no, because Gen.G themselves having to ban Jace on blue, despite it being, I think on 9.4, it will be first pick basically every game it's left open.
Yeah, I think the only other champion that you could say might be above that would be Vlad, but Vlad, you know, able to be flexed a little bit more, also incredibly broken right now. It's hard to really put anything too far above those two for now, as Ezreal this time around was left available alongside Lucian in game number 1, but immediately SKT on red. They have a different banning strategy for blue and red side, and they do not want to see either of those 80 carries make it into this game.
Since being benched, Fly would have had more time to go into solo queue and find some new champions, because his champion pool issues have been a consistent one for quite a long time. Seems like LeBlanc has not entered there just yet. His solo queue accounts don't have a lot of action, so he is shrouded in secrecy a bit. Aurelion Sol, of course, the most famous pick from him, and his Lissandra's been pretty good. So first pick Lissandra might be kind of where they're forced to go, as Gen.G is. You know that game number 1 went a certain way when Rule was getting 3 bans on the red side by SKT.
Yeah, just take away anything that's OP or anything that he can play very well. And there still is Kai'Sa, but those 3 are definitely a step ahead right now in this meta. Galio, though, still pretty high up there. Let's hope it goes into support this time around, but can be flexed.
Support is the more likely one, I think. Now the Fly is in the lineup. He's actually kind of been up and down on the Galio in his history. Crown also struggled on Galio, even though it seemed like it fit his wheelhouse very well. SKT, sadly, everyone's free to go to bed. The Zed seems to be out when it comes to today's games, at least. Sandra, most likely to be the pick for mid lane here. Is what do we want to go first round for SKT? I think you could go Rek'Sai here if you wanted to find something safe. The Alistar, what they're choosing to go anyway. 1 game on Braum. The Braum's still open, you'll notice, but the Braum is going to be ignored. So we're seeing a bit of support priority here. All support's available, and Mata prefers to go into the Alistar.
Yeah, after last game, he's like, oh yeah, I remember Alistar. That's pretty strong. I'm gonna give that a shot, as immediately you see Lissandra and Alistar. This is one of those times where I can't be too mad about the Silas being picked. 2 ults that are already fantastic to steal, alongside Varus, which is going to be picked over something like a Kai'Sa or anything like that. They want to make sure they can pick Ruler's 80 carry before anything else gets banned.
A lot of slippery 80 carries are banned, which means that when it comes to 2v2 laning insurance, Varus, of course, strong there, but against what was already locked in, you're like, ooh, Lissandra could flank that, Alistar could help uphold that, Kai'Sa could swoop in. So Kai'Sa would have offered more repositioning, and has been a Gen.G standby in recent series, but obviously not to the tune of many victories. 4 and 5 most played on the Kai'Sa, so that's a pretty good win rate for a team that has much lower than 50% win rate. They still prefer to look over it. Maybe we'll find out later in the draft the reasoning why there, specifically for Ruler. Second round, though, it seems like SKT aren't convinced it's going to be a support Galio. Tahm Kench banned away to ensure that Varus is even more susceptible now to Lissandra and Alistar flanks.
Fiora, not something you may pick very early on in a draft, but how about 5th pick, counter pick to the top side? They want to get rid of that, especially after game number 1. Khan's MVP earning performance on that champion makes that a pretty obvious first ban here.
But Valdez, after game 1 also, I think it's just a blind ban against Khan. It's the fact that they can't deal with the Fiora. They don't have champion pools. Roach and Cuvée have pretty overlapping champion pools. There's been many words about Roach over the years that he could perform on carries in scrims, but his stage performance has never really fit him. On that particular side, Vladimir is left open a really long time in this draft. Could be picked up by SKT if they want to do that.
It does mean you get double AP in the lanes, but with how strong it is, would be interesting to see it here. See a lot of nodding from Clid, so maybe they just go ahead and pick jungle right now. Still in Olaf, a Lee Sin, a Rek'Sai left available, but through all of that, they go for Jarvan.
It is something that will always get to Varus. It's a very good compositional champion against Varus, whether it's top or jungle. Remember, this could be a flex, because it's someone who might not always maximize damage, but you can EQ flash ult someone, right? You can cover an entire screen, and you're not Zac, so you don't have to give up early priority to do so. So flex Jarvan here. I picked that something that Khan has played in the top lane before. Gen.G won't have the full information until the late mail is thrown by 5th pick on the red side. They're going to return to the Olaf. We'll wait and see when it comes to laning priority. We do like Varus 2v2 and basically any AD carry support matchup, so that part is good. The Sylas remains to be seen based on matchup. Will Gen.G finish out this draft, as SKT suspect this is not going to be a support Galio, or had they forced it to be a support Galio? It always goes one way or the other.
What?
Karthus!
Somebody get Ellis on the phone. What's going on? Does the Olaf go top and Karthus into the jungle?
That's a very interesting question, given that Olaf top has been played. Noticed it when I was looking over some solo queue accounts with Conqueror. I don't know if SKT knows what to make of this, so drafting for your own comp might be smart.
How about a Riven?
Would they dare? Would it be Riven time? That'd be pretty hype.
Oh,
let's do it, baby!
Okay.
But who will be playing the Riven is a question we will find out. I'm sure Clid saw inspiration from Canyon. Would love to be playing it. There's a lot of shenanigans going on in this draft. Second Karthus in Korean Pro play at the highest level since Kesper Cup. Now, waiting to see. Faker is the most famous Riven. Remember, he is an undefeated Riven player, but I don't think he's going to be playing
I
Riven.
want him to play it so bad, but doesn't seem like the day. And this was the other formation I was thinking about. Karthus, just go back to old Karthus, send him mid, and have the Sylas run top alongside Olaf in the jungle. 20 seconds is gone, and that's going to be the way it goes. So exhaust Karthus in the mid lane, comes back, and Khan, yeah, you can ban his Fiora, but can you ban his Riven? Seems like the answer is no.
And Riven is a good matchup into Sylas as well. This is a very strong laning matchup for the Riven. This is going to be really exciting to see. The only time Khan played Riven in the past was with Ignite against a Gangplank and got a pentakill in that game as well.
Yeah.
That was when everything was going right for Longzhu into King Zone. Now, it is 2019. He's already made us a believer as Fiora. That one we already know. He's definitely looking to cash in against a different Gen.G top player this time on the Riven.
Well, you take a look at this, and yeah, you can rub your eyes, but it is real. Karthus in mid lane comes back here with the return of Fly into the mid lane, replacing Roach. He's like, yeah, let me show you how to play the mid lane. Let me hop on a Karthus and show you who the real boss is with this R button.
Not sure if LS will be as big a fan of this Karthus as he's not in the jungle, so letting down our boy LS, but Riven top lane from Khan is to me where my eyes will be trained. Let's see if Roach can find some breathing room in the top lane.
This is going to be a good one, guys. Let's jump into game 2 now. The fans happy about the picks this time around. Game 1, Khan brought you Fiora. Game 2, he takes it even further with Conqueror Riven in the top lane. We'll see what else he's got alongside his runes. I would assume that the observers will be on top of showing you exactly what Riven can bring to the table on 9.4.
Very exciting to see. Fly going for, as you mentioned, the old Exhaust Karthus, the standard summoner spell we saw from Froggen 7 years ago. Still true today. Many, many years later, trying to farm it out against Lissandra. Notice no cleanse, so a lot of threat, you could say, from Lissandra and Jarvan post 6 especially. SKT have a comp that is actually pretty fundamentally the same as what they had in game number 1. They have a strong 1 champion in the 4-1. That is going to, of course, be the Riven with Conqueror. Gen.G looking for a late invade here on the bot side.
Mod's like, yeah, you guys can do whatever you want. I'm just running by. Don't mind me.
These are, of course, this season. Khan has played Riven before in professional play, in Korea no less. Was a late invade. It means that Gen.G have to take damage in the 2v2 to get access to the minion wave, so a bit of a health bar lead there. As Roach, if you're wondering, didn't want to push the lane, and that's why he used his E backwards.
Yeah, I see that a lot, especially in the mid lane, where those lane positionings can make all the difference between if you die or not. So we'll be interested to see, of course, not only that matchup in the top lane, but also what the Karthus can do in the mid lane up against the Lissandra. We've seen a lot of higher range champions than Lissandra do well into the lane. You know, you think of Zoe, even the Cassiopeia, but Karthus is another interesting one where you should never really be in range of the Lissandra's combo or any kind of shenanigans like that. Maybe even pull off a little bit of poking yourself.
That's why it's hyped that Karthus was locked in, but in effect, he's going to try to push the lane and not have it frozen where you see it on the screen. If your minion line is out of turret aggro against a Lissandra, you're going to be in Glacial Path Flash W range, and that's where Karthus is susceptible. Otherwise, he wants to be as non-interactive as possible. Think of like an Orianna, for example, just trying to farm it out.
Yep.
And we're going to have to watch the jungle path thing of cleared, and it's going to be something that Peanut needs to focus on. You really want a battle ward here to allow Karthus to wantonly push. Otherwise, more often than not, the lane is going to be frozen in an awkward spot, as we see right now.
Flight's doing his thing, farming up. I don't know the exact calculation, but 23 seems awful close to perfect so far.
Hyped to see Riven in Korea. We've had so many Riven pentakills in Korea. Smeb has a Riven pentakill, Someday has a Riven pentakill, and Khan, many years later, has a Riven pentakill. I would love to see another Riven pentakill.
Is today the day?
No.
Well, I mean, it could be. You don't know that.
Are you sure? LS talks about the future all the time. There's not going to be a Riven pentakill today, sorry. I'm bursting a bubble.
Now you're like LS trying to call the dragons that come out.
No, I wouldn't. That is his
You're also
thing.
a guy that doesn't like to make predictions as well. Unless it's big bad, but sometimes you do.
I think predictions are always interesting because there's a lot of good ideas. I feel like if you want to give a full answer with an essay, I'm happy to do it, but just X beats Y I don't find interesting because the draft is so important and teams forget their win conditions half the time, so it becomes tricky to find too much intelligible when doing those predictions. Top side, Roach so far been able to be pretty competitive in this lane. See where first buys go. You assume Roach's going to go into Iceborne Gauntlet, pretty tanky. And Karthus should definitely be able to provide the late game damage. It's just my worry is Ruler, specifically because of the champion he's chosen, which was purely for lane, which after game number 1 you can understand. However, a lot of members of SKT are very mobile and able to shut him down.
That is true. Peanut going for a second go-around, and the enemy jungle has the timer on that one. You'll notice that on the opposite side, double ward by Clid over by that blue buff. So similar in terms of where the control is for both junglers.
Right now, though, things are being played at a pretty slow pace. Clid doing a lot of invading, wants to track the enemy jungler. I believe they would know that he's onto the Drake here. No response so far, but remember, Faker has teleport.
And now Faker, where will he go in for the teleport? Looks like Peanut has a good idea that they know he's there, so he will have to back away. And the TP just comes into the mid side, so no big fight's going to break out over an Ocean Drake today.
They actually showed their hands pretty transparent because there was no attempt at a flag and drag by Jarvan, so therefore it was pretty clear they were coming for a collapse around the Drake, so smart of Peanut to pull away. Very high value Ocean Drake this game for Gen.G. Literally everyone would have used that in the laning phase and allow them to be more comfortable. Ruler and Life can use their spells to push, which of course Galio will have the huge advantage over Alistar in terms of the support battle here. It's the unique thing about Galio's support being rolled into the meta right now. Clid continues to do a lot of invading, doing his own battle ward in this game, and now threatening something creative around top. But backs away and just happy to pick up the scuttle.
Creative scuttle comes in for him. Will just be farming it up alongside the Olaf, just a little bit slower. Looks about 1.5 camps behind right now, but he is currently out on the map. So should be relatively even in that matchup. Gen.G for now, just going to be fine to sit back and let the Karthus just try to farm up and do his thing, I would have to imagine.
Now, if we compare this to game number 1, which we've already done in terms of draw, so yep, Riven in the side lane, 4 members of SKT. It's not with the same lane leads they had in game number 1, but importantly, SKT aren't finding leads early, not finding leads before one item. There's no advantages meaningful on either side. 7 minutes into the game, so this game probably hits the next level when we see Faker finish his first item, and Teddy feeling combat ready. Ultimate available on Mada, probably the requirement there. So smartly around pressure. We talked about the Barra spot lane, what it provides. It provides lane pressure, therefore, steal a blue buff. Nice invade by Gen.G, and their fundamentals haven't abandoned themselves completely. Let's start at game number 2.
It was definitely a team effort to get on in there as well. Oh, axe thrown mid after Faker goes back with no TP to push in the lane. Get Karthus in with you to help out with the invade. And the aftershock here for Roach definitely helps out in these trades against the Riven. But once it's down, you see that he wants to keep his distance and just poke down some of those minions and CS without going for big trades.
Interesting to see the build from Khan. Riven is very able to abuse the newest item in the league. The old Essence Flare removed now on the Spear of Shojin. You see already the Caulfield's Warhammer. It's often Caulfield's into situation. It doesn't have to be a Yomu's Rush or anything like that, but you got a lot of options on Riven. A lot of items are pretty tantalizing on her, so you can understand a lot of approaches to the lane. Just to me, the untradeability kind of begins when that item's complete, is right now Roach able to get a nice trade in.
Good trade, sees Faker on a ward now though, and it's going to walk back with his tail between his legs for now, as junglers find each other Clid. Not happy to take that trade anytime soon. Faker still on a ward.
Khan has been trying to bait this. The earlier trade into Roach doesn't know that a blue ward from Gen.G is getting them so much value here and wasting the time on the Lissandra. Peanut trying to take the Drake, given all of this. They know they outnumber, so despite there being a control ward in the pit, they know there's no way for Lissandra Riven to respond to this play.
Good map play. Just playing around where they know the enemies are. And although we are going to have an ultimate straight onto Peanut, and immediately backed off on, as they will at least force a flash out of Peanut, so a little thing there. But that Ocean Drake that you mentioned is pretty high value, especially with the laning phase. It's going pretty slow. Is good here for Gen.G.
But it's just good to see Gen.G making a 2, 3, 4 play, if you know what I mean, where they have information they're trying to turn into something. Clid is not fancying going into fly, given that his ult is down. But what I mean is, it was a multi-step play to get the Drake down there, and yet it was bloodless and at the right time. So they read the map pressure very well. The blue ward topside was the huge MVP there, as it got them that huge information lead when Khan was trying to bait. Now they end up with an Ocean Drake that we already mentioned earlier, is one they exploit very well in the laning phase.
No bigger Drakes just yet, just the Cloud one coming up next. We'll have to wait and see if SKT can get pressure on the top side of the map. We talked about their Rift Tiles before the series even started today. They were something like 17 for 25, and then they picked up another one in game number 1. So we'll see if that pressure on that objective continues here into the second game.
Item build from Khan. He was at Caulfield's Warhammer Ruby Crystal, and now he's bought a second Ruby Crystal. So perhaps a sign that Black Cleaver will be coming out in the build, as Phage into Kindle Gem is seeming like the build path is going on for at least the start of this build. Seeing Gen.G, red buff, very, very quiet stuff, and if you find yourself napping and wake up to a 400 CS Karthus, then who's to say Gen.G are completely done in this game? The Dark Harvest stacks, those seem like a bridge too far for now, but early laning phase has been fine, and when you make a side lane play, you always have to calculate that extra 250 plus damage the Requiem will be doing.
You can already see as well that they're doing that old style, you know, Season 2, where you just give Raptors and the, well, I guess they were Wraiths back then, and the Wolves over to the mid laner, who's just playing a wave clear champion and is just trying to CS as much as possible. Already, the Wolves given over to the Karthus. Wouldn't be surprised to see some Raptors go that way as well.
Very low health build coming out from Fly. It's looking like Ludens as a first item. Could still be a tier, I guess, coming in late, but playmaking, as you have the CDR and the Magic Pen already complete. Seeing Khan actually lane swap here. This is interesting, trying to have some potential of an all-in. And when you see no health in the build from Karthus, even through the exhaust, we could see him dying pretty fast.
And of course, Faker with Aftershock Lissandra can pretty much lane against anything, so easy swap for him. And a bunch of armor in the build, as you were pointing out, Papa, there for the Sylas, means that Lissandra actually begins to hurt a bit against Sylas.
Exactly. It's a Riven against armor stacking, which in the early game she wants her items to start getting around 40% CDR and all-ins, and now Magic was just on the top side.
Okay, tons of damage goes the way of Faker. Has to ult himself to get away. He's going in with the Flash Roach, just trying to get down Faker. Will he go down? Yes, he will. First blood to the Requiem apply from the mid lane.
Seems like Faker was caught napping there because the Lissandra ult being stolen means there was a huge damage there at the start, and the Requiem that we mentioned getting done in the side lane, so the swap is turned instantly on Faker and Khan.
Just press R makes a lot of sense up against a Lissandra that no longer has her ult and makes it look easy. The damage calculations right down to the minuscule numbers there, no doubt. Probably to the single digits in that calculation, as makes it look easy. Fly just sitting back and picks up some more magic penetration into that sweet build.
And it was so interesting there because SKT looked at what Gen.G didn't have. Armor stacking. Let's just swap on you. Lissandra can top lane. Meanwhile, Gen.G looked at what they had. They're like, wait, we've got a Sorcerer's Boots complete playmaking Karthus in the mid lane. Let's go for this all-in with the damage we have. And Faker being hit by the Lissandra was the beginning of the end. The flash for just one half of the chains was enough, and Karthus ends it. So I feel like Gen.G turned lemons into lemonade in that play, which again, after game one and with Gen.G's struggles, it's not something we could assume. So big credit, Gen.G.
Really got to hand it to them. Make it happen. Good play by Roach as well. Sklid just hopping around in the jungle. See if they can make a play happen to the side of SKT, as Sklid and Faker looking for the blue buff handoff. And here comes Khan, 3-on-2. Sylas not there just yet, but it doesn't look like they'll be able to lock him down, but they do steal the blue buff away. A lot of mobility in the comp of SKT means they can run away from this one scot-free.
A lot more honest of a steal there, needing a lot of people to invade. Game one was almost over at the 14-minute mark. Definitely didn't see that in game number two, so fans of a competitive series should be enjoying the mulligan into game two action. So far, Fly bringing back an oldie, and it is showing. I appreciate that he spent 2 weeks away from the Rift and now comes back with a new pick. It may be a golden oldie, and he is one of our longer stature players, debuted all the way back in 2014, but he's bringing out a pick he has not played since he came back to Korea at the start of 2017. And say what you will about the build, it definitely does one thing. It play makes well on any sort of invade and any pressure around Peanut or solo kill.
Yeah, must have taken some time off, you know, do a little bit of coaching with our boy LS and learn a little bit of the intricacies of Karthus and how many buttons exactly you have to press on this champion. But all things aside, I mean, it was just a good team play, and he makes it happen in the top side. So really got to hand it to Gen.G. They start off on the right foot, but once again, SKT trying to boost their Rift Herald rate. They're just going to take it away with no vision on the side of Gen.G. They've got most of it around the Drake, which allows them to get Cloud Drake, but they give away Shelly again.
Definitely feels like a trade-up when it comes to objectives, but it's a flow-on from all the vision they placed for the blue buff steal earlier, remember, Valdez. So kind of has to be an acceptable loss for the side of Gen.G. Again, I want to talk more about the build from Fly, because think back to Karthus builds, they were, Kassadin style, as much mana stacking as possible. Very low mana in this build, very blue buff reliant. It's going to be a Leandri's build, so Karthus' single target damage on Drakes and Barons may not be Cassio, but does a pretty good imitation. Going to be mana gated in this game, and if they keep the blue buff off him, it's going to suffer, but right now, you've got double Magic Pen, you don't got a lot of health.
W misses there on Faker. Doesn't bother to ult, even though he had two members around him, two teammates that could have potentially gotten on Fly. Fly, of course, with both summoners available, but not having to use either of them in the trade.
Teddy was the first we saw on the LCK going this build, so he already has the transformation on the Q for trimming waves in moments like this. I think this is definitely the right build against Galio Varus. They're the hard-pushing duo. get Q as early as possible so that every time Varus pushes in, he doesn't get those extra 3 autos in a turret. Speaking of autos in a turret.
It looked like multiple alongside Selly's big auto charge coming on in, so First Blood turret does go the way of the jungle and top laner up in the top side, but that does mean that SKT do have to give up pressure on the bottom side, and we will have that trade of the turrets that's been around for quite a long time. Shelly gets another charge in the top side for some extra damage.
We back away and just have to reevaluate the game state because it feels like we're going to actually bore out the 5v5s in this game. Already mentioned SKT, more of a 4-1 comp, but definitely the right flank from Riven can be pretty damn massive in a game like this. The build paths on the champions here, it is going to be AP from Roche. You know, he has Zonia's, a Lost Chapter item on the way, so it's going to be an attempt to find picks with this build. Can definitely find good synergy with Lissandra and Jarvan burst damage ultimates, or do his best Chovy impression and be super unkillable with the Alistar, and that seems to be a favorite for most of the players of this Sylas recently, has been the compositional answer of stealing away that Alistar ult.
Yeah, I mean, as I was saying in the draft, right, it makes sense to pick up Sylas when you're facing Lissandra Alistar. It's just 2 ults alone that are going to be fantastic. And you have a chance of SKT picking in some other ultimates that are potentially good to steal. So, like the idea, as once again, Gen.G getting frisky in the enemy blue buff area.
Definitely feeling like they can force things, and their items and champs tend to agree. Ruler's looking very strong with an escort from an Olaf and the Galio. The vision bugging there, but very hard for SKT to mount a defense that is not an actual full-on all-in attempt with champions like Lissandra, Alistar, and Jarvan in the river like that. So Gen.G square up to mid, stop pushing with Ruler, while Teddy's Q will delay things over time. The turret threat will be pretty big from the side of Gen.G.
They'll get there eventually. We've had 3 games earlier today that have gone pretty swiftly, you know, from early game into one team having a lead into a bunch of action. This might be our first game that actually just calms down a little bit. You know, the Drakes weren't super effective with the Ocean and the Cloud, and other than that, just the 1 kill so far, so suppose we were just waiting for this moment.
I don't think people will want to hear this, but my read on how this game will go, just given the first 19 minutes or so, as Teddy actually sidesteps away from Varus. He had his cleanse, so he would have lived through it, but it looks like it's going to be about someone getting caught in transition. Karthus, for example, wants to push and then find safety in the side lane when he's farming. He could definitely be caught. Speaking of being caught, it's a next level situation, but Faker will get out. Karthus is the most immobile of the champions side laning right now, so he's at the most at risk of being caught, and if you exhaust your vision, if you don't have your control wards in place, there's a real chance that Fly is caught napping playing side lane, and that's his first time in pro play Karthus in a long time. Therefore, a lot about pushing out waves safely, and that's usually one team or the other will trip up.
Well, we do have Khan getting close to Roach, a hope of action, but none coming just yet, as Gen.G eager to gain some vision around the Drake and get double Cloud Drake would make things even more enticing for that Olaf and Sylas and everybody to get into the back line when these fights do start.
It's kind of inevitability that will continue this game, though, leaving Khan on an island and trying to make things happen while he cuts his mid lane.
Okay, Flid alone there for a moment, has to ult flash to just get away, which means another engage ability wasted there essentially, as well as a summoner.
And every ult that's removed when it comes to engage means that Ruler's life is safer. Remember that a lot of SKT's comp was invested in finding ways to just squash the Varus like a rat, but it doesn't seem like that's going to happen. In particular case, won't be swatted down. Swatted like a fly, not a rat. That's a bit weird, but at the end of the day,
some pretty big flies you got there.
Even Flash being down means no Flash Cataclysm in the future, right? So Ruler is looking like he will be leading more and more of a charmed life. We back away as Karthus gets another minion wave, and this game extends with Gen.G having the only meaningful leads of 1 kill and 3 Drakes.
We're just going to have to sit back and wait for that one, as you were mentioning. Just farming it up for now. Nobody really making a big move. The next Drake is going to be a third Cloud Drake in this one. And as long as nobody makes any big mistakes, we'll have to wait and see. Although the Jarvan ultimate stolen, and well, it's Riven, so she doesn't seem to care.
Her items also, for the heads up, is way better than what Roach is able to wield. It's full Maw and Black Cleaver against, you know, straddling the line between teamfight and respectful for Roach. The game will reach a point where SKT can engage onto Ruler and shut him down from doing damage safer than the same could be said about Gen.G, and we like Riven the side lane. So you feel like SKT has a lot of good scaling options, although counterpoint is still Karthus. You'll notice the build, the way you approach a game like this way, well, we kind of have to engage on the Varus. We're definitely going to take AoE from Karthus as you stack magic resist and kill Ruler, because it's magic damage else on the side of Gen.G. Even Galio doing some relevant magic damage. So I like the itemization here. You don't often see more second on a Riven, but given where this game is going, it's probably the right call.
Just need to see a little bit more, perhaps, for Faker, but he's, you know, eventually going to pick up Lasagnas. He is also Lissandra, so can pretty easily avoid all of that and probably get some health back. And Kai'Sa's got a shield, needs to build damage items as well, so can't fault the item build so far from those two players in terms of magic for this.
But our impression, based on the draft from SKT, was this is the go point, right? Now Kai'Sa's like, yep, I got my items, I'm ready to farm. I'm ready to farm kills and just fight in general. There's no kills in this game at all from SKT. Now Riven is looking pretty unmatchable in a side lane. So I feel like SKT, who've been so respectful, right? They've been pulling back from engages that they were easily taking game number one. Now is kind of the start of the game period, the next 20 minutes or so, where they, if they have the ward lead, should be able to make things happen. And I think Gen.G will be kind of ripped at the seams more clearly than SKT will, based on the current item rate.
It's definitely a big game for Ruler to step up and say, hey guys, we've got a chance, and now I have to be the guy that avoids that big engage from the side of SKT and outputs enough damage to get everybody low enough to be requiemed in the game.
Actually, so confident to walk up here. They had control ward. Olaf was battle warding as well, so showing his face, making sure no one was coming in. So the ultra squishy Karthus, who only has the health from the Merlin Armacon, able to get 3 autos onto a turret. Every time Karthus autos, you wonder what happened. Here we go, though.
Exhaust comes in. Faker just going to try to ult on a fly, but has to flash away, as you mentioned. Olaf's back. Kind of battle warding there. Khan going to find Silas. Not looking for a turret dive today, though.
Khan doesn't have Executioner's Call, which actually makes it... needs to be an all-in trade rather than the extended trades in the side lane to actually make Roach honest on this Silas. But now at least you can notice doing a very good job of delaying.
Good try there on that one. You know, you just throw out your ultimate when not much is happening as the Varus onto Kai'Sa. Even though Teddy has cleanse, maybe you can blow cleanse and then try to engage in a follow-up fight when you have your ultimate back.
Second time it's gone wide, but we'll see where the game is the third time around. It's always a bit of a mind game, you know, the first Blitzcrank hook, the first of those line skill shots that can be game winners later and often influence the way people juke as the game goes on. So information open. Won't use this time to just laugh at Ruler for missing twice. He won a world championship, catching Faker with a Varus ultimate, so, you know, we'll give him the benefit of the doubt for now.
I'd assume he's pretty confident in that ability and in his ability. Although it is hard with the rest of his team struggling around him. You notice that he picks up a Guardian Angel third alongside Ninja Tabby. He's not messing around. He knows he's the big target in this game.
This is one of those games where you definitely feel your true elo as everyone is easily 10 CS a minute or more. 300 plus CS already recorded at 25 minutes. The new norm is that you kill every minion, damn it. The genocide only gets worse for the minions.
No excuses, right?
None at all. Gen.G, they're patrolling. Remember, they have 3 Drakes, so Elder's looking like a pretty big win condition, and will they just get another Bloodless Drake? It'd be number 4.
Yep, that it would. Okay, TP comes in here from Khan, and Mata going in there alone for now, but Ruler taking a ton of damage already. DA is already popped, and Teddy has so much room to do damage. Fly just has to Zhonya's, and he's not doing damage during that time. Requiem will come out, but it's not gonna matter, as it doesn't do enough damage, and stopwatches are there. SKT wipe the floor with Gen.G.
And it's almost a perfect ace. Only the engager goes down, and it was like we mentioned, Valdez, stack that magic resist, bide your time, and even Karthus' scaling won't be enough. Well, watch the replay here. It looks like a fight might not even happen. I don't know about this teleport, it seems disconnected, but Mata, bless his heart, has to go super early to make this happen, because otherwise it'd just be too easy for Gen.G to disengage. Ruler is the one who needs to be free hitting. You don't get to see that in this fight. There's enough lockdown CC to make it happen. They control space, but there's a firing squad circling the members of the Cataclysm, which were Gen.G. They skip around the stasis available for Teddy, who hasn't got his magic resist yet, and there are the claps. Sakoma seems happy. So do the rest of the members of the coaching staff of SKT.
He said nice. And
could you translate that one, Valdez?
And nice again.
Could you give us an honest English translation of that?
Nice.
And what was the second one?
Nice.
And what about the last?
And nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thanks for the translation, Valdez.
No problem. I'm
what? G-Sun confirmed that was correct.
G-Sun says maybe he said let's go as well.
I didn't hear that.
I didn't catch that, but it's possible it happens.
What does she know anyway?
It's not like it's her job or anything. As you have to wonder, how did Gen.G get into that spot in the first place? I mean, it's a Cloud Drake. It's the third one. They all pile into the pit. And then Mata's able to get a big engage. You got Riven and Kai'Sa able to plop behind you. You talk about that circling fire squad. They kind of got themselves into that position to begin with.
They did, but Mata had to really cause some ruckus for a long time to set it up. So I think it was just catching them unawares that SKT would go for quite a bold all-in, right? It was a lot of summoners available, so you wouldn't have expected it to come off, but I think they just overrated their game state after it had been 1-0 in kill score and the big farm toes. Like, yeah, we can fight here. But SKT had been intelligent, stack magic resist, and stop Ruler from just hoovering damage onto 3 people with Hurricane. And things get good, and now the side lane that was kind of even is less even for sure around Faker. Should be way less even if Khan ever feels frisky. And they're taking down standing objective. There should be a big Baron buff power play gold-wise.
Oh, yeah.
Look at the numbers. You're going to have to watch them update again and again. We're close to 4,000 gold for SKT.
3.8 and counting here with a minute and 30 left. Khan looking to pick up another turret in the bottom side as the game honestly blown wide open after that one. You can't just give away 5 kills in a Baron and not expect to be way behind, as is the way of things here. So SKT really trying to put on the full court press on the outside inner turrets first. They get a couple, 3 in total, I think, actually. The 2 inner turrets on top and bot, and the mid tier 1, the towers will start falling.
Full damage Karthus is now behind in tempo, i.e. map control is gone from the full damage Karthus, who has no mana pool to speak of outside of the Ludens. And then the Varus, who we mentioned, could poke and siege very well, but get caught in team fights. May have Summoner up, but also is only receiving minion waves when SKT starts to decide to push them in. Feels like Gen.G have a comp that from behind can't force very much. Olaf's not going to be running in alone. We saw in game number 1. Olaf from behind. Karthus wants people to come to him. Sylas could try to steal an ult, but otherwise not going to do so much. It feels like in one play, Gen.G have lost control of anything other than minions being pushed into their inhibitor turrets in top and bot and inner turret in mid. The map has just gone from 50-50 to 90-10, and that is a really big concern. Is this the last inner turret left for Gen.G, and they're not even going to defend it?
Yep. You got to be respectful. You got to fight on your last battleground, which should be around those inhibitor turrets or maybe even your Nexus turrets once it gets there. As Faker threatening and engaged, but nothing will happen here just yet.
Ball over the wall. There is the warning now. Again, TSM Jat special.
Those sneaky claws coming out of the darkness. Not anymore.
When did they add the craggy ice around the axe throw? It's really cool.
Must have been recent, right?
I learned something
Last
actually
couple of
about
matches.
Broloff. We've often ruminated on Broloff. It's the thing that goes back to the Monty Doa days.
Yeah.
Only one voice line was removed from the Broloff skin, interestingly. Some of them are in Korean. He still says chug chug. But actually, because of just the sensitivities in Korea, the your mom when he dies is the only line that's removed from Broloff, I should say.
Yeah.
Speaking of Broloff,
Well, he's trying to do damage to Jarvan, but Jarvan can hop over the wall here, and Teddy says, get away from me, or my friends, as they tried. Karthus was there too, but Jarvan just has enough mobility to get out of dodge. And poor Gen.G, 1 Ocean, 3 Clouds, and what's the 5th Drake? An Infernal, right when SKT is ahead.
that is, yes, I think a fair comment. I don't have much to add to that. Definitely feels like a low roll on the 3 Drakes they got. Or was it SKT seeing the Drakes and giving them up? That is the part that's harder to isolate. I'm not going to be fully in the SKT goggles camp in this one because Gen.G made a lot of good aggressive moves. Their proactivity and play around pressure was good. They earned Drakes. But you also have to talk about them because they're up there. The double Cloud and Ocean haven't helped as much as they would have liked. The first Ocean was really strong for their lanes. The Clouds for Olaf are pretty decent, but definitely the double Infernal Mountain is conspicuous by its absence to Gen.G fans on the left side of the screen. Now SKT, very strong 3-item builds, and now the Requiem comes in and there's 2 Guardian Angels, or I say Guardian Angel and a Zhonya's, a Gargoyle Stoneplate, a More Malmortius, and a Stopwatch. So the next Requiem shouldn't be killing anyone, and Ruler has to find a way to engineer damage. You may have 4 items, but there's so much threat from SKT that keeping up damage uptime as a Varus should never happen in a 5v5 at 30 minutes.
It's going to be rough to find that damage in these fights here, as they are down about 8,000 golds. It's about 6,000. NA math, by the way. But we'll see if they can actually wait until that extreme late game when, you know, it's not just going to be the Zhonya's, it's also going to be Death Cap. Final item for Karthus, you would have to imagine.
SKT need a Baron to close with this comp. Kai'Sa can't siege. Riven is very strong in the side lane, but a Baron pushes her over the edge with turret threat, so the Baron is the most important objective, and we're getting a deep teleport from Riven to start this off.
Wow, and look at Mata as well from the right side.
He hasn't been seen on Vision yet, and Mata's here too!
He finds Novaris, and see you later, TA. That's immediately going to go down, and they have Novaris for so long in this fight. The towers fall, the Requiem comes through, but again, it does not matter how much damage that ability does, because the rest of his team is dead.
That was awesome from SKT, just like around the Drake. They surround Gen.G. The firing squad lets off its final barrage, and SKT win 2-0.
There you have it. Couple of really clean games here from the side of SKT. As Clid, well, that was good timing. As all the Zhonya's will come out now, didn't even need them for the team fight as GG comes in for game number 2. Very clean couple of games here from SKT, playing to their team comps and outplaying Gen.G